Yes, sir. Your thing is much more abrasive. So here we are. Hi, welcome to charmCityJS, Baltimore's JavaScript meetup. Thanks for coming. Yay. Yeah. Thanks. It's April. We always have a joke on this slide, so I'm going to show you one of my favorite April Fool's jokes ever. You may not laugh as hard as I do, but that was a lot of time ago. 2010. My favorite. It's my wife's favorite. Thank you. Yeah, see? He gets it. Anyway, all right, Orioles, the slides are orange because the Orioles started playing. That's cool, right? Yes. Yeah, that's for sure. Super cool. We have a website on the internet. You probably need to put it all in one line when you put it in your browser, but when it displays on the internet, the internet does whatever the fuck it wants to. I would leave it like that to show you. That's the internet right there. In one slide. Please do this. Please do this. We get talks by people submitting them. We have not had to solicit any talks at all. We're heading into almost a full year. Actually, I forgot to make a slide about that. So next month will be our 1-year birthday from charmCityJS. So we're going to do something. It's going to be awesome. And maybe I heard like some rumors about there being like a rooftop thing here. I'm not making any promises, but it's going to be cool. So we should be paying attention for that. We're going to have our 1-year birthday next month. So go to this website, GitHub. You can submit talks, you can submit ideas for talks, even if you don't want to give them. So submit something you want to hear about. We're starting to run lower than we've ever run. We've still got a good base, but we will run out if we don't start supplying more. So please, even if you've given a talk, I would say go for it. We're going to kind of open those gates. So especially if your talk is not 20 minutes, because that's our maximum. So even if you make it 19. I will choose it first. But I really like it if you made it 10, because that's the best. Or 5. Okay. Next. Slack. Our Slack is blowing up, man. We are having like at least 10 people talking every day. It's great. It's really cool. We hang out throughout the month when we're not here. If you have JavaScript questions, you just have like more other questions. Or just want to talk, hang out, you do it there. So you can go to that URL. You can also just go to charmCityJS.com, the website that I showed you before, and there's a link there. All it will do is ask you for your email, and then it'll send you an invite. Some people did that and then never get the invite. And what happens is if you did it once and it naturally went to your spam, it won't ever send you another one. So you can just talk to me or ping us on Twitter, something. We'll get that sorted if you want to join us, because it's pretty fun. This is important. We have an anti-harassment policy. Last month we talked about this. We did not link to it, so I made a short link for it, bit.ly/ccjs-safe explaining that policy. So I gave you questions. But in short, if you are feeling harassed or if you know someone else, grab someone who is an organizer, definitely me. If you're an organizer helping out, put your hand up. Not many of us here this month, but find me if you want, or myself, Mike over there, and just talk to us, or you can tweet at us, however you want to contact us. Direct message, I think our direct messages are open, whatever. We take this very seriously. We want this to be the safest spot. Announcements. Node School. We're going to have another one on a day, but it's a real day now. It's actually next Saturday. So you should come. If you don't know what Node School is, it's cool. It's free. It's like 4 hours long, and we get together and we pair up and we go through these command line lessons that are open source. So you can. That is terrible contrast. So you can go to nodeschool.io/Baltimore, and eventually we're going to merge this into the charmCityJS.com website too. But for now, it's at nodeschool.io. That's nodeschool.io/Baltimore. And it will not only tell you about when the event is, there's some links to the lessons so you can investigate what they are. you have any questions, let us know. You can jump in our Slack that I mentioned. You can ask us questions there. We have a notes channel. We also have planned out for the first time. Let me bump this up. Oh, it's an image, so it's not working. If you go to the website, though, you can read yourself. Over on the right, there are 4 upcoming events after the next one. So we've already scheduled them in advance for the first time. We'll start having registration links for those, but you can register now for the one next Saturday. To mentor/TA, so if you want to come, you already know some Node, you can come and help kind of teach other people. If you don't know anything, you just want to learn, you can come and sign up to be a student. So
and you can teach it without knowing it, because
you sure can.
I didn't know anything, and I was there mentoring.
That's a really great sell.
I still don't know anything though, so I don't know what you're doing.
No, it's totally great. Trust me, it's awesome. Let's move on.
This really raises a great point, though. I mean, what if you're kind of in the middle? Like, you could do a little bit of teaching and a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there an option for that?
Yeah, it's called Your Choice.
Okay.
Do whatever you want because it's free and it's awesome.
Okay.
Yep. So if anyone has any announcements that there's this little text here that says recruiters disclaimer. We don't hate recruiters. We just don't want them to talk here. No, if you're a recruiter and you want to come every month, you want to get to know this community and talk after at the bar or whatever, that is great. But we don't want to make this a place that's just like a developer market. So we're not going to make this open for recruiters to come and talk about all their own positions. But if you work at a company and you want to talk about a job that's opening, if you're looking for a job, or you have an event or a non-job related announcement, it'd be amazing. So if anyone has one, go ahead and just shout it out. Yep.
AOL is going to be hosting a Google I/O extended here. I think it's May 18th.
Oh, nice.
Everybody's interested. Just come up to me.
Nice. Anything else?
Node school.
Node school, yeah. Did you guys hear about that? Oh, and Slack. I forgot to make a slide for it, but who's been to a refresh Baltimore before? Who's ever heard of it? Okay. So that got restarted recently. It's this kind of cool meetup community that's a mixture of developers and designers and all kinds of web community type people. So it's not quite as focused as like the JavaScript meetup would be. And they have all kinds of people come, so I really shouldn't make a slide for this. I will tweet about it and put something in Slack. But it's coming up at the end of this month, I think, so you should look out for that. It's pretty cool. Always a really good event. So they're starting that at the end of this month. I'm not sure how regularly we do it, but that's the thing. Refresh Ball. All right, sponsors. Wait. Oh, we're going to have to go down. AOL, we got a real logo for them this month. I really prefer the CD with 1,000 free hours, but Spark Post, Orioles, yeah, this is where I work. We send a lot of email for a lot of people. If you are looking to send any kind of application-driven email from the code, we are a great choice. And recently, I've been taking in thousands of Mandrill Exodus people because they don't want to pay for Mandrill, so they come and pay us instead. So we have, I don't know. But you get 100,000 free forever, so 100,000 a month free forever. So that's cool. Let's see. What's that?
Are you the Spike business?
No, we're just available when the opportunity shall fall. Tenant does some cool accessibility stuff. Carl Groves is an organizer. He's never made it to one event. He's very busy pitching his awesome products. That's why it's cool. You should check it out. Tenant.io. That's all the time. Okay, tonight's speakers. You guys like this intro?
Can we go with the polls?
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh, we should totally do that. Yeah. Nope.
I brought my talk again.
I just like that one. Hold on. Hey, let's see some live editing. How about that? See? Look. Oh, wait, there's much more. Probably have to go
Now hot reload.
refresh. Oh.
If you were using React.
No React talks tonight. No React
Oh,
talks.
really?
Not a single one.
You're wrong. Yeah.
So that's how you do it.
We have to fix that.
So Max is going to tell us about Git. That'll be our first topic. For that, we've got some ES6 destructuring tips and tricks. We'll have an intermission. Really cool. I'm really excited for that. And then Mark's going to tell us about electronic desktop. After we're done, we'll go over to Huck's bar, just around the corner, just follow the crowd. It's like, it's the direction from here. It's not here. Yeah, and I think that's it. So, and I just want to make it clear, we made a slight change last month. We are no longer doing like a little Q&A after the talks. We're going to move through a little faster. So hold your questions. You can go find someone afterwards. There's an intermission, right? You can find them, ask them questions directly. I think that's a better use of time. So when we kind of just like whisk someone off the stage, that's why stage. All right, so let's get Max up here to talk about Git. Give him a hand.
Thanks, everyone. This will, oh, I knew it. That's a, you know, if you screw these in, they tend to work better. DevOps, right? Any moment now. This works. There it is. So, you can see this all right? I'm just going to start. There's a timer. Gone. All right. My name is Max. I am local software developer, currently up for hire. So if you like what you see, come find me after the program. I'm easy to spot. I'm going to be talking about Git. Git is not JavaScript specific. It is in the world of rerunning your front end every 6 weeks in a different tool. Git is a remarkably durable and widely used tool. And you may have heard of Git as, oh, it's GitHub, and you work with open source projects. It's all about collaborating, and you have all these different versions up online. And that's true, but it's not really what Git is about. The idea that, and I've got a cloned copy of jQuery here, that we can do, I'll just do a git pull, and I'll pull down from the cloud, and we've got the up-to-date version of code. You can do that. That's not what Git is about. What Git is about is, so you all play video games, and if something doesn't go the way you like, you turn the thing off, you go back to your latest save point. That's what Git is. Git is the ability to have all these different versions of your files and to switch between them at will. So, if we go into source Ajax .js, and I don't like Ajax. Goodbye, Ajax. Well, Git is not going to say that it's really gone, because it is really gone. It's not in the file system. Gone. Well, if you could just remember this magic command, then hey, it's back. So that's the first thing to know. You do not need GitHub to know Git. So this sounds pretty complicated. You've got different versions of your files coming in and out. So one of the themes of the talk is going to be, how can you get Git to tell you what's going on? And Git is actually very good at that if you know how to ask. And so the first command to know for that is git status. The moment it's just telling us, hey, nothing's going on. But if we actually go in and maybe add something, or awesome equals 99. Then when we do git status, it'll say, hey, you've modified source Ajax. It tracks that. It knows. And git status is helpfully saying, well, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do the reset head and go undo everything. You can check out that individual file. That's another command. You can check out the file and you get that back. Git status is great. Just read what it says if you start writing out. So, but let's say that we don't want to check out the file. We like our change. So we can do git checkout -b for create a new branch. And going to call this new branch charmCityJS. We're on a new branch. We used to be on master, now we're on this one. This is another different version of your file. So you can have concurrent versions of history as you go through. And we can even see that with git branch. Shows us we're on this one, but that master is also a thing that exists. If we say we like our change, we could do git add source Ajax. If we do git status, we see it's now staged to be commit. Committing is when you say this is a version I like. So it's a two-stage process to say you make the change, then you stage it. You say this is something I want to commit, and then you actually commit. That is git commit. And we have our nice editor here, and we write a message, and we exit out of that, and it tells us, all right, we've made a new commit. This is called the SHA, which is a hash of the commit. It uniquely identifies the commit. If we do git show on this SHA, it will show us the commit, tells us when it was committed, tells me who I am, and we have the diff here. Just to see that again, we add var variable equals -9, and then we can even do git diff while we are looking. It says, well, that's our change. Git commit dash am. A for all, meaning add everything, so that skips the git add step, and M being a shortcut to give us the message rather than open the no. We learned to spell. All right, so we now have 2 commits. So like I said, you have to ask for, well, where are these commits? How can we see them? Git log shows us this information. We can scroll down, keep scrolling down, see all the jQuery history. This version is not quite so useful. If you do git lg, or if you Google git lg, someone has figured out all the options that you pass to log to make it something much more useful. We can see, this works better with smaller sizes, that if you see the SHAs, you see the references, say, oh, this is head, this is origin master, master, 2 commits down, and so forth. So now that we see these commits, well, what if we want to do something? And this is where we get into the real power. Those of you who are bored out of your minds will want to open your ears now. Goodbye, Flux. Git bisect. Git bisect start, I guess. So git bisect bad, this is the commit that's on the bottom there, and we can say bad. And we can do -1, just gives you one thing. Good. And now we're bisecting. What? Oh, because you have to do it in reverse. Gosh, git bisect reset. Bad, and let's do new commit. All right, git trying to be helpful, and then so that one was bad. The newer one was bad. The old one is good. All right, now we're bisecting. What this is doing is it's going through the list of commits in a history. And it's saying, well, we know that this early one was good, this new one was bad in case you have a bug and you don't know when it was introduced. And it says, oh, well, let's go about halfway in between. It's going to do binary search. So now you would run some sort of test, see if this commit was good or bad. And let's just say, oh, yeah, that's good. And this one's bad, completely just making this up. This one's bad too. And now it says, oh, Richard Gibson, I'm going to have a talk with you because you screwed something up. That is a git command that you should know. So we're still on our branch here, and we have these 2. No, we're not on our branch because we bisected. All right, so now we're on the new branch on CCJS. We have our commit here, our other commit here. And it's very common to say, oh, well, I've got these 2 commits, and I really want them to be 1 commit, or I want to amend them in some other way. And with Git, history is an illusion, and you can very easily change between the illusions. So git rebase -I for interactive and then throw in a SHA here. And then it's telling you down here, oh, well, you can edit the messages, you can squash them, you can fix them up. So we can squash this, and now we can edit this, add awesome and terrible. All right. And now we have one commit where there once were two. We have rewritten history, and we have made that progress. So if we get back to master, we switch to master, we can git merge CCJS, and we don't want to fast forward, no FF. So now that's all we have to do to merge, and now if we look at our log here, we can see that we branched off and then we merged. That's what these things are telling you. If you've looked at any sort of UI, it gives you that in fancier terms. But let's say you're totally lost. You have no idea what's going on with your merging, with your checkouts, with your rebasing. You think that there was something else in that bisect, but that got lost, and you don't want to scroll up and find the SHA, and you just want it to return to normal. The command that will save your booty every time when you really screw stuff up, git reflog. Here's a list of every commit you've ever made. It shows you how far back they were. It shows you what command got you there, whether it was a rebase, a squash, a merge. It shows you the commit message, and we can do git checkout. Any of these will get there. And the important thing to know is that these commits are immutable. Once they're made, they stick around, so they're always there. And you can always save your revert your game to the last save with your code. So I guess that's it. Short talks, right?
Yeah, Chris, come on up.
You want to ask me questions?
Yeah, come over here. Let's. So why do you use Git and not Visual Source?
I have no idea what the other one is. Because everyone uses Git.
Yeah, cool. We use Mercurial at work.
Well, you must be stuck in the
That's unfortunate. It's actually fine, but it's not as good as Git because Git's pretty cool.
Right. Well, because Git is distributed. It used to be that you had. When you wanted to modify a file, you had to tell the server, I am modifying this file, put a lock on it, no one else could touch this. It's a mess. And it did not scale if you wanted to, say, write Linux, where you wanted everyone to be able to modify files. And with Git, you basically say, I'm going to merge everything. And if there's a conflict, I'll tell you how to sort it out.
Use Git, don't use Visual Source. Thank you, Max.
You took my spot.
Alrighty, so I'm going to talk to you guys about a little ES6 stuff, destructuring. What does it stand for? We'll see. So it's a nice little utility that we get in ES6. I'm not sure how far along Node is. We do a lot of Babel. But in essence, what we get here is we have this object. And if I wanted to, use those, I could say, then, let name equal talk.name, right? I could do that. But with destructuring, I can just totally pull that out like this. And to prove you that it works, there we go. What if your object's a little more complicated? Let's say, I want to change my name, right? Got first, last. We can handle that too. And let's see. Maybe that works again.
Is presenter anything like that?
Good question. Now, we actually try this. This is actually going to throw us a little error. It's not defined. And so, in order to get presenter out, you just got to do a little bit extra. Cool. Now, what if you don't like the names here? Well, we can change those. Like so. Cool. That's nice. We also get it for arrays. So we have numbers here. Yeah, we got first as a method on arrays now, but you know, I like using the structure. No numbers. Cool. We can do second, third. Well, the arrays, we can actually skip numbers here as well. So I can say skip the fourth one, we'll wrap it there. Okay, cool. All right. Now, how do we use some of this stuff? So I use it a bit in function parameters. That's kind of changed the way I sort of program as well. You know, I was never a huge fan of the whole options variable at the end, right? Never know what's actually needed. I really like Ruby's like name parameters. That's really nice. We don't get that in JavaScript. So take this sort of function here, we can apply some of this to it. And actually, if we change these last two to an options array, we can construct it like so. And that'll pull out those for me. And of course, if I wanted to say find talk, yeah, and then pass in. Let's go include presenter true, date false. That go out calling it. We also get that with arrays too, nicely. So let's say I wanted to have like a filter by months, or filter by date. Let me say month, year, and pull it out that way. So I find that a little bit clearer, as opposed to having to like dig down deep into the actual function, right? You know, normally I'd have to say, you know, options, and you get your funky options date, like if date dot m, you got that whole undefined or equal null bit, right? So just sort of cleans things up for you. Cool. And we get another little thing that makes destructuring way better. It's called the spread and rest operator. The way that kind of works is, you know, we have this sort of object here, and I can pull out, you know, A, B, and C, just like we've seen so far. But how do I go about getting like the rest of them, right? I actually tried doing that. It was pretty difficult in a one-liner in just regular ES5. But in ES6, just get that. Look at this here. What does this look like? Just there you go. Yeah, it's fun. Get the same sort of thing with arrays. Array, right? Yeah, let's say we get the first one, and then all the rest. Now this is going to fail. At least it should. And the reason that failed is you're not able to deconstruct the variable name that already exists in scope. So if I change this to other, there we go. So I was talking about spread operators. You know, it's the same sort of thing. It's the triple dot. And it's pretty helpful. You know, an object in ES5, if we ever wanted to create a new object, we get, let's take object, let's go, you know, we got object assign. And we'd have to say, you know, build some new object over here. Say A is equal to A, or object.A, B is equal to C. Yeah, so C, right? So we've seen that before. But with the spread operator and sort of this destructing sort of manner of doing things, actually get rid of a lot of this. Don't have to worry about object assign. I don't know if any of you guys have been bit by that polyfill, but I sure have. We just come in here and just say, you know, give me the rest of objects. Let's make B C. Let's look at the difference here. There you go. CP is C now. We get that same sort of power with arrays as well. Right? So we have first, other. You can actually use it to sort of concant strings or arrays. So let's go here. Let's say first, second, others, console. Let's go with the say others, and do this first. Let's go. Okay. This is the joy of live programming, right? Yeah, so there's our array, right? What's cool about this is we can just go in and sort of add things like we saw before. Like I can just add in a new parameter here, add a couple in. And you see that. Cool. So what does this all do? Well, you're promised no React talks, but sorry.
Yes.
So how do we apply this in like real world examples? So like I said, this kind of changed how I program a little bit. And you know, one of the things we've sort of run into with our React is we'll have a wrapper class that takes some parameters, then we'll want to pass down like the rest through it, right? And we don't want to have that knowledge of what that inner component is. Dry, simple, whatever you want to call it, right? So start applying some of this here, and actually clean this up a little bit. Some people don't like this to say you're caching your variables, but I think it cleans things up. Also, I sort of like to keep things at 80 chars, so this helps out a bit. So I can say this dot props. And I can come in here and clean this up. Remember that rest operator? We need to apply that here. I can just say props like that. And now my wrapper function doesn't have to have any knowledge whatsoever of what that inner component takes, which is really nice. Let's say you're using, React 15 plus with stateless components. Really nice. We can remove a lot of this here too. Let's have a new function here. We're going to take style and the rest of the props, just like we saw before. Now we got something that looks super simple. There's a ton of code. And just looking at it makes more sense. Cool. A little more React, do some Redux. Again, how can we go about refactoring this? Well, do the whole action right at the top. This little functional thing. So let's do types and payload. Does that make sense? We'll come in here. I don't know if this changes that much, but I think it makes it clear to know what exactly action should be, what its shape should be, as opposed to having to dig down the code. I don't know if you know that before I even made that change, that payload was actually a required part of that action object. Now you do. Cool, well, you can change this object assign around, right? We don't like object assign. And these to-dos, like same sort of thing with object assign, but the to-dos here, I'm trying to keep things immutable. I don't want to necessarily change the to-dos there. So I'm doing this little slice and push. Well, that's annoying. Let's make this new to-dos and take state. Got to-dos. We can add in payload to .to. That is basically the same exact thing as this. I think it looks cleaner, makes more sense. All right. Now, if anybody does a Redux, you know that you end up having to make sure you don't change any of your state that you don't necessarily want to. Maybe I shouldn't actually have filter as part of this state reducer, but it's there. So something we do to sort of make it clear exactly what this particular function is changing is we use the spread operator again here on state. Actually, we'll just do this here. So I'll take state here and then just pass in my new to-dos. That is the same exact thing. So it keeps filter the same. I don't have to worry about it. And you're looking at this function. It's a lot less code. I think it's a little bit clearer. It's not clever, it's just more concise. So that's it.
So Chris, before you're escorted from the building for the little React version, I have one question. So let's say I've got like a big mood tools app or something, and I want to go play with destructuring. So how can you use this? I'm curious. Like, what would I need to do to be able to use destructuring?
It's new to ES6, I guess. Not everything is there. So everything I was running through is actually through Babel Node, which has stage 0 preset, right? Now I know destructuring comes in with the latest node, but REST operators and that sort of thing do not.
The 5.
Yeah. So like, so a few of those things have to be added in. So yeah, you got to transcompile or wait, unfortunately.
Yeah, so if you use Babel, you can start playing with it now. Right?
Yep.
We use LTS node that works, so it's before that X version. It does not have destruction. So
But it's 6 hits in a month, something like that?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So the new stable.
Will 6B LTS?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
every
Yeah, on the fresh and fresh,
Does the
like
rest
day
of
of
the credit
the.
come with that?
I'm not sure. So yeah,
That's still in state.
I'm not sure. So yeah, all right. Thanks. We're gonna have
Stay sure with Babel.
an intermission. So we're gonna lights up and take 10 minutes. Come on back.
All right, start Star Wars.
Someone is only loosely promoted.
Did that. Problem is that it's an immutable reference to immutable value. I can still push to my immutable event. I can still pop from it until that was the reference. Exactly. That's what you're saying. Yeah. It can't be a sum of constant array. Constant I can't do my array. I can get out of loop, pop from it. So it's I can still turn the array whatever array I want. The rest of the good here is
my buddy.
It's like, even his stuff. Sometimes some big decisions we have to make. Very sweet.
Those are actually different than regular rockets. Yeah, they maintain yeah, so like in React, it's amazing because you're always saying like this. Yeah, pretty violent. I mean, so the big thing is how you're not really to understand. Let's just go I mean, it's extra type. So you're actually, you're actually typing stuff. But you could have
Really cool showing it up. That's easy to find.
You're gonna throw some React in there too, right?
All right, well, thank you, Charm City. So my name is Mark Ricardo. I'm a developer at Essentia, and I'm going to talk to you about Electron, JavaScript on the desktop. Before I get into that, Essentia is hiring. It's a great company to work for, and if you're hired to be working on the stuff I'm going to show tonight. So if you find that interesting, come talk to me. I'll be at whatever bar we're at afterwards. So how many people here are familiar with Electron? Okay, how many people have actually worked in Electron? Cool, okay. So for those of you who don't know, Electron allows you to build desktop apps on Linux, Mac and Windows using standard web technologies like JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. And how does it do this? Well, basically, you can think of Electron as a minimal Chromium packaged with Node. So it's Chromium controlled by Node. So you get the best JavaScript front end, the best JavaScript back end in a can that you can deploy as a desktop application. So Electron is actually very popular, and there's a lot of prominent apps built with it, ones that you know. So Slack, Atom, editor that everyone seems to be using now. Visual Studio Code, the new Microsoft apparently is very embracing of JavaScript. So Atom and Visual Studio Code underneath the hood are very, very similar. The new browser by Brendan Ike, Brave, I recommend that if you haven't used it. And Facebook's IDE, Nuclide, and a whole ton of other stuff as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on in Electron. Getting started with an Electron app is very similar, and Electron itself functions very similarly to Node. So you just have to do an npm install g of Electron pre-built. You want the pre-built version because building Chromium takes quite a while. So that'll install it, and what that gives you is a command, Electron, that you use very similar to the Node command. So you can run an app by just doing Electron on the path to your JavaScript file. This is what a minimal app looks like. So basically, you get a hold of the Electron module, and then once Electron is ready and it's kind of booted up, it will open normally a browser window. So that gives you the Chromium. So this code you can kind of think of as being in a Node environment, and then the browser window, when you open it and you point it to an HTML file, that's running in more of a traditional browser environment. So how does Electron work underneath the hood in terms of its architecture? The one thing that you really have to know about Electron is it uses a two-process model. So that code that I just showed, that's running in what's called the main process. And it's very similar to just like Node.js. So you have access to all the core Node modules. It doesn't have a UI, it can create a UI. But normally what you would do is, through that main process, you would fire up a browser window, and that's running in the renderer process. And the two processes can communicate with one another over IPC, so they can send serializable messages, but they don't share memory, they're actually separate processes. So just like in Chromium, when you open a new browser window, each one is a separate process. So if you look at like the standard web app architecture, and I'm guessing most of us here are doing or some other backend. So this is kind of a standard web app architecture. You have a server. If you're running Node, you're probably running something like Express or something else. You have a client, you're running JavaScript in the web browser, and they're communicating via AJAX or WebSockets or some other RPC. Well, Electron, if you just look at it, it is very similar. And I like to think of it as both the client and the server in a CAN that I can deploy on a user's desktop. And so with the code that's running in the browser window in Electron, one of the really cool things is you can access Node modules right there. From like, you can take the input from a text box and you can write it directly to the file system by requiring FS and writing Node code. So you get access to all the Node modules from within your renderer process. But you can also architect your app in a more traditional front-end, back-end kind of way as well. You could use your main process to start up an Express server on a port, and then when you launch a browser window, you could have the browser window making AJAX calls to that backend. So what does that mean? That means that with very little effort, you can take a lot of the apps that you're writing today and just port them right into Electron if you needed to run it on someone's desktop. You can still write a client-server type architecture to do that. And then the reverse is also true. If you have something that you're building as, let's say, a dev tool that you want to run on someone's desktop today, but you're not sure if you want to launch it in the cloud at some point later, you can very easily, if you're using this kind of architecture, go to the cloud or go to a traditional client-server environment later. So Electron comes with a bunch of things that you can use to integrate with a typical desktop environment. I won't go over all of them, but I'll actually show some of them in code. If you need to pop up a notification, you can use the HTML5 notifications API, which is automatically granted permission in Electron. You can access the tray icon and give it a menu. You can manage recent documents, like in the doc in macOS or in the equivalent thing in Windows. You can customize the doc menu. You can do tasks in Windows. You can control the thumbnail for the toolbar and have a progress bar in the dock as well. So there's a lot of that kind of native stuff. So you should be able to do pretty much anything you want as far as interacting with the native OS UI. There's also mechanisms for publishing updates. So once a user has their application installed, notifying them there's an update available and pushing down new code. There's a mechanism built into Electron called Auto Updater, which is still evolving. It's a wrapper for Squirrel, if anybody's familiar with that. There's also a third-party library, which looks intriguing, which allows you to publish updates for your app just via NPM. So it seems pretty cool, but they're both kind of very newish and evolving. So I'd like to dive into some actual code. I'm not going to code anything, but I coded some stuff beforehand. If you're in the Slack room, I posted a link to the repo earlier today, and I tweeted it out on my account as well, but I'll probably post it again tomorrow if anybody's interested. So the app that I'm going to show is this. And this looks like an IDE, but it's actually a little app that I built running Electron, and it's using ACE. If anybody's familiar with that, so that's a library. I guess it's used by Cloud9. Basically, it's like an IDE in a can. So this kind of shows off some of the things that you can do with an Electron app. And this is going to be a super annoying app. It's going to do a lot of unnecessary stuff, but just to show off the capabilities. So for one, you can do like a tray icon at the top. Like, why would an IDE ever do that? I don't know. But if you had something that needed to run in the background, you could put a tray icon up there and show stuff. You also can have this nice headless look to your window as well. So you can get HTML all the way up to the top and still have the native controls here. You'll notice one of the real benefits of Electron, over to the right here, I have the standard Chrome debug tools. And if you put in a command for opening them, in this case I have Shift Command I, you can just hit that and these will pop up. Or you can also pop that up programmatically through JavaScript. A few other things, like I mentioned, so you can have access to a native list of recent files here. If I save this, it can, it's supposed to pop up the notifications. Well, I guess I must have killed the notifications. Anyway, there's a way it should pop up a notification here, opening and saving. So let's dive into what some of the code behind this looks like. So there's a few editors that you can use that I recommend for Electron if you're going to do it. The free route, Visual Studio Code actually debugs Electron really well, debugs the main process really well. And as of the latest release of WebStorm, which is 2016.1, it also debugs the main process really well. So I would recommend either of those if you don't have a strong preference otherwise. So the way that Electron app works is you have your standard package.json, and in many ways your app just looks like a Node app. And so the main script here is what Electron's going to run when you do electron dot on your current directory. And so I put in a little Node script to start it, so it'll do electron dot and then dash dash dev. And this is a flag I catch in the main process to pop up the Chromium dev tools. So let's look at main.js here. So this is the first bit of code that gets run by Electron when your app boots up. So I get a hold of Electron, get a hold of some other things to throw up a tray icon and whatnot. But the important part of this is when the app is ready, fire up a browser window. This is how I'm hiding the head of the window here, title bar style. You give it a height and width, and then you tell it a file to load. And this could either be from your file system, so file : / or it could be, you could start up like an Express server here and serve files statically or however else you want to serve them and do an HTTP : normal URL path. And just another thing I wanted to point out here. So I'm building a bunch of menus. So if I go back to my app, I have all of these actual like native menus that I've added in for doing things. So that's all through Electron's menu API. And so this is what a menu winds up looking like. It's a JSON object that you export, and then that goes into a template array, and you just do this like menu built from template thing. So I don't have to really know much about it, but know that it's there. Building a tray icon. And then there's a few things that I'm going to listen for to be able to communicate with the actual render process to send in things like opening files. And that would occur like if I wanted to open a file from one of the native OS things, I'd have to listen for that and catch that and pass it in. But what the real interesting part of this is what happens in the renderer process. So what happens inside of the browser window that I'm going to open. So I'm including, or I'm loading this index.html. So if I go, I organize my code along the lines of what process it runs in, whether it's the main or the renderer. And in index.html, it's a pretty standard looking thing. And it's loading, I'm actually using Webpack to bundle the scripts here. So it's loading a Webpack bundle that's built. One of the reasons I recommend Webpack for this is that Webpack has a plugin that understands not to look for native Electron modules that are there. Otherwise, your build would just fail if you didn't have it. Browserify may have something similar, but if you don't know, use Webpack. So the real interesting bit here is the index.js. So this is basically all the JavaScript on the client side. And so this is where it gets really magical. So notice here I'm doing a const fs equals require fs. So I actually have access to the native node modules, but this is code that's running in the browser. So I can write directly through the file system or do anything else that you would be able to in Node. And so, for example, when this save function is called, which is when you click this save button. What it does is I can just, if a file is specified, I can call write, and then I'm just doing fs.write the same old way that you would do a normal write. So very, very cool. And it really leaves you with some interesting choices to make about app architecture. I've known folks that have built apps where they take full advantage of this fact that you can access Node APIs, and they don't do any kind of RPC calls. It does kind of block you out of options of how to move that to the cloud later. You want to keep that in mind. The app that I'm currently working on, we actually boot up an Express server, and we serve things statically through Express as if it was a traditional web app, and we make AJAX calls back and forth. So if you're interested in this, again, there's a repo up on GitHub that I'll share with everybody. You can pull it down, you can look at it. It actually has a full Gulp build script. Building Electron can be a little bit difficult, as like going to production with anything is always more difficult than developing. But this has it fully worked out in a way that is similar to what we're actually doing in production. And again, if this is the kind of thing that interests you, please come see me afterwards. We're hiring essentially to do this exact kind of stuff. So thank you very much, everybody.
Cool, thanks, Mark. That was awesome. We're gonna go. Yes, we're gonna go to Hux now. If you want to come with us, thanks for coming, everyone. Be back again next month. Go to school next Saturday if you want to register.